I'm doing another Ecamm live stream test. It's taken quite a while to get to this point. I do just enough live streaming to forget how to do it. But once you get used to it, it seems pretty cool. So here's what I've been doing. In the beginning, I was trying to use Zoom because I'd like to use that for podcasting. But Zoom is problematic. I've got a podcast I'm going to do tomorrow. I really would like to start recording the video portion of the podcast and putting those on my YouTube channel. And I didn't have much success today. The audio quality was horrible. There's an option in Zoom where you can activate it. You have to go into your Zoom preferences, go to audio, and then there's a advanced tab, and you can turn on this switch that says display a switch on your Zoom screen where you can say use original audio. And to me, in my puny brain, what that means is, okay, rather than the processed, compressed audio, you're going to save my voice on my side of the Zoom conversation. You're going to save that as a high quality audio file. Really, there's nothing going to be done to it. It's going to be straight from my microphone to my DBX286S into my mixer to my Onyx Blackjack USB audio interface to my hard drive. That's it. Clean signal, right? No, it does not work that way. It's terrible. The audio quality is horrible in Zoom. The only other thing I know to do, and I haven't tried this, is use a piece of software called Audio Hijack, which I do have. I can route the signal from one app to another. So what I may do is I'll have to set it manually. I won't be able to trigger it right away, but I'll see if I can't use that. This is really complicated. I can see why artists in general who would like to use this technique can be overwhelmed by the technology because there's just so much to figure out. And what I'm trying to do is figure out how can I simplify this so that you can enjoy that. Now, it looks like my videos have stopped playing back there. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. Let me see if I can get them going here. So, yeah, you see my monitor back there, and I've got videos playing that I downloaded off my iPhone. And that came about from a conversation with Kathleen Hudson. She talked about using videos to give motion reference as she was painting. So I thought that was a pretty cool idea. I had thought of it before. I really just haven't done much with it. So I thought, well, let me try this out. Now, I figured all I got to do is copy my movie file straight to my USB stick and stick it in the TV, right? Nothing's ever simple. It's just never simple. Just never, ever simple. You know what I had to do? Well, so I had two USB sticks. I figured, well, one works. So I had this one. I know this one works because I've been using it. Mostly still images, but I have some video files on here as well. But I wanted one stick to have nothing but video on it. So I copied my videos to that stick, stuck it in the TV, and guess what? It did not work. It did not even recognize the USB stick. So I said, okay, that must mean it needs to be, I bet I don't have it formatted correctly. So I went back, I formatted it to MS-DOS FAT32, stuck it back in, put the files back on it, stuck it back in the TV, and it still did not recognize it. Oh, so what's wrong with that? It works on my computer. Well, so I changed the name to all uppercase, the volume name, and when the TV recognizes it. What kind of developer makes a user go through that nonsense, right? But anyway, it had to be uppercase. Now it recognizes the sticks, but it doesn't see any of the files. And I'm thinking, this is crazy. It works on this one. Why not the other one? I look at it and say, oh, they're all .mov files. That makes sense. Those should just work, right? That most applications, most devices, it just works, right? No, you can't do that. So what I had to do, I figured out that the only way that television behind me would recognize those movies off my iPhone is if I changed the extension from .mov to .mp4. And that took a long time to do. I need to find a utility that will allow me to do a mass or batch extension change. I know there's software out there that does it. I've just not ever really had a need to do it. But that's really what it was. Change the extensions from .mov to .mp4, and now it works in the TV. You can see all the videos are playing. I've got it on autoplay. Of course, the TV doesn't do what I want it to do. So it has an option where you can set the video to play continuously. However, that applies to one video. It will not go through a playlist of videos. So you have to set it to once in order for it to automatically go through your list of videos. However, when it gets to the last video, it stops. It's tired, not going to play anymore, unless I go and tell it to do it all over again. You would think it would just play continuously, right? That would be the sensible thing to do, but it didn't. But these are all the things that I think artists get flustered with, is not having, when the technology just doesn't resonate with people. You can't figure it out. You're too busy trying to figure out just how to do art, and then you have to figure out all this stuff. It can be overwhelming. So as I said before, what I want to do is figure out a way to simplify how this works and then tell you how to do it. I'll be your consultant, your mentor. Old gray cells notwithstanding. We'll figure this out, because I think this is still a great opportunity for teaching, for demonstrating things, for connecting with your community, and just being engaged like that, just having more opportunity to be online. Really, there's no need for a middleman in this. It's you and your customer. It's you and your client. You don't need a middleman. You don't need a publisher. You can do this yourself if you're dedicated to it. I know sometimes people say, well, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, I got good news for you. You're not a dog. So that means your brain has been designed to always be learning. Even as we get older and things start to slow down, we still have an immense capacity to learn. So never underestimate your ability to adapt. You learned how to paint, right? So you should be able to learn how to use the tools that will help you get the most out of your painting and give you an opportunity to maybe perhaps get some income from it, or at least some exposure this way. So that's one of the reasons why I've been doing this. The other thing is I've got a podcast tomorrow. I'm going to do it as a video. I'm going to record the video of each guest, and it'll be the first time with the Artful Painter that I have 2 guests and myself. So 3 people on the podcast. So it's with Keith Hang and Brian Mark Taylor. They're both technically savvy, so they'll have their DSLRs set up. They'll be recording on their end, and then I'll be recording on my end. And we'll see how that works. It may be a complete disaster. I don't know. But I'll keep working at it to see what we can do to make this thing work. I want it to be interesting and add a new element of presentation here. So I hope it works, and hope you're able to enjoy that. I've been posting most of the podcast as audio only, which is okay, because a lot of times when we're doing something, it's one of those things where you can listen to it while you drive someplace, you go on a walk, exercise, painting, whatever. It's something that you can be listening to without having to be engaged, having your eyes locked on the screen. So I want to experiment with it. I'm not making any promises, but what I am going to do is see what I can do about podcasting with the video. I know others are doing it. Andrew Tischler does it. He does a great job with it. I figure, well, if he can do it, maybe I can do it. I hope so. So that's what I'd like to do, is be able to record the video part. It's neat to be able to see people, their expressions, their faces, their gestures. Now the downside of recording the video is you put yourself immediately in a visual situation, whereas you know that your output still has just a audio only component. So if I hold up this USB stick and I'm talking about it and I say, see here, look at this, you see what's on there? Well, the people who are listening to the podcast, they don't see that. They miss out on that. So you kind of have to be careful about how you speak. Whatever you say and whatever you point to, you must be descriptive while doing that. So it's easier said than done. I'll probably just totally mess that up. But hey, you don't know until you get out there and you try it, right? Some of the things I want to talk about going forward on this channel and in the podcast is related to what I was saying earlier. I want to give artists more of an opportunity to handle the technology side of things. That's my background. I did 35, 40 years of IT, software development, human interaction design, video production, content production. So I'm not going to be teaching you how to do art. I mean, I'd love to, but I've only been doing this about 3 years full time. So I'm not in any position to presume that I can teach you how to do something. There's plenty of far more experienced artists that can do that and do a very nice job with it. I might show you what I've learned. That would be different. You can look over my shoulder and say, watch me. Look, I learned how to draw like this, or I learned how to mix this kind of color, or I learned how to do. You get the point, right? So it's more of a. You can look over my shoulders and see what I'm learning. But what I want to do is I want to teach artists how to eliminate the middleman. You do not need a publisher to publish your own videos. You do not need a middleman to sell your courses, to do your webinars. You don't have to. And I'm hearing some really atrocious agreements that these artists are forced to sign. One artist told me that they had to take all their YouTube tutorials down, the free tutorials that they offered on YouTube. They had to take them down. And they can't display them for a long time, nor can they create other YouTube videos, not other YouTube video, but other courses. Like if they wanted to sell their own course on their own website, they can't do it. And I think that's asinine. That is absolutely asinine. Whoever came up with that idea, it was good for them, but it wasn't good for the artist. It's a terrible thing. It's absolutely terrible. No one should do that. It's not a good situation to be in a non-compete. I would not recommend anyone to sign. If you're an artist, do not, no matter how tempting it is, do not sign a non-compete. It's your intellectual property. Hey, I actually got somebody come in on the chat for this video. Artist Luz. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Is it Luz or Luz? Luz. I've seen you before. You've interacted before, and I really appreciate that. It's good to see you. Maybe if I do more of these, we'll have more people come on. But I did this at the last minute. This was an ad hoc just experiment just to see what would happen, testing some of my gear and technology here. So that's one thing I want to talk about is you don't need a middleman to produce and sell your intellectual property. It's yours. It's not is not some major publisher out there. They have no right to ask you to sign a non-compete, especially if it's like 2 years. I could see where you might say, okay, for 3 months or a month, I'll agree not to do this, but to hand tie me and say I can't do it at all. No, I'll never agree to anything like that. I don't think you should agree to it either. And you don't get as much exposure as you think you're going to get from them. And I've heard that too. It's a mixed bag. So do not sell your soul. Oh, okay. So it's like Lucy, but why? Yeah, I got you. Artist lose? Did I say that right? So if it's like Lucy, yeah, okay. I have the terriblest time. That's not even a word. I have a terrible time pronouncing people's names. I wished I was better at it. Even their handles and little cute little IDs that they come up with for themselves. Half the times I don't even understand it. So I apologize. Oh, okay, good. I got it. I love it when I win this game, right? Okay. All right. So that's the one thing I want to talk about is you can set up, and there's several different ways to do it. Some are very affordable. You can get fancy with it, but whatever way you take it, you'll be able to have complete and total control of your intellectual property. The courses that you sell, the coaching that you do, all of those things can be 100% yours. You don't have to give anybody one penny, not one dime, nothing. You can do this yourself. And some artists are doing it and doing a very nice job with it. The other area, you've heard it. Oh, I'm going back to the chat bar here. Yeah, you've heard it pronounced all sorts of ways. No worries. Thank you. You're very, very kind. You're kind. Thank you. So where was I going? Oh, one other thing. One of the challenges I see too that artists have is with their websites. Now, and again, it's a herd mentality, and I don't mean this in an offensive way. At least I hope not. But everybody, it seems like the majority of artists, I would say upwards of 90%. I've not empirically calculated that, but that's the way it appears. I know on my on my podcast, I think probably all but maybe 2 or 3 have their website hosted on an artist website hosting platform. And I know I made the quip one day that it sounded like, these websites look like they were designed in the 1990s. And, that was that just slipped out. I said it was like they looked like the 1990s, and they did. I've been doing websites since 1993. Okay. And I created websites that looked just like that too. They look like the 1990s, but our design sensibilities rapidly improved throughout the 2000s, and today we have some really beautiful ways to present information. But I said, you know what? I'll go check it out. I'll go check it out and see what it's like. I signed up for a trial for this major artist web hosting platform, and I was stunned at the horrible interface to that thing. It was just ugly. And of course, being a developer, the first thing I look at is, okay, what was this thing coded in? And I look, and there it is. It's not even hidden. It's the extension was .ASP, Active Server Pages. It may not mean anything to you unless you've all been involved with software development. Active Server Pages was a cool technology back in the 1990s, right? It was very cool. I wrote plenty of Active Server Pages, but it also had a lot of limitations. The number one limitation is Microsoft stopped doing .ASP server pages back in, I think the last update might have been, I think there might have been a minor update in 2002. At that time, they were switching to a new technology called .ASPX, ASP.NET, which the extension was ASPX. And of course, you could cloak that and no one could see, if you did it right, no one would see what the extension was. But that was a far better platform than ASP. It could scale better, and you had a lot more tools with it. But even that's fallen out of favor in the last several years. I haven't written ASP.NET probably since the last I wrote was probably 2008, 2009. About that time, I started going into PHP and Ruby on Rails and JavaScript and those platforms, which are much more modern, and is what the bulk of that's what everyone is using today. So, but I was just surprised. This major artist web hosting platform is all on .asp, and it's ugly. And then the other thing that really got me was they have to pay. If they upload more than, say, I forget what the number was, but 50 pictures. What? When was the last time that anybody had to pay to upload a photo to a website? Oh, yeah, that's right. The year 2000, right? That's the year 2000. I could not believe that. And then just minor changes, a lot of minor changes. They had to put a support ticket in, and then it would be hand scripted in the background. I just thought that's nuts, especially the amount of money they're spending. I'm sorry. It's just, you don't have to do this. You don't have to have a website that looks like it's in the 1990s. There's better ways to do it yourself. If you got the money, you can hire someone to do it, but you don't have to be stuck to a platform like that. That's insane. Then there's another platform that is more modern. I don't know what kind of acceptance it's getting among artists. I only know of one artist personally that's using it, and they died. So I haven't even gone back to see if the website is still there. It was quite beautiful. It was a beautiful website. What really turned me off with these folks was the used car salesman tactics. They still use it to this day, right up to this day. They use a used car. You have to agree to a demo, and then when you go to the demo, you have to agree that you're serious about plopping down, say, $600, $2,000. I don't know what it is. At the time, for me, when I first looked into it, they wanted like $2,000. Are you ready to spend $2,000? And I said, absolutely not. There is no way I'm going. They said, well, we're not going to show you a demo. I said, well, so how am I supposed to make the commitment and say I'm going to spend $2,000 when I don't even know what I'm getting into, other than the fact that you're using used car salesman tactics? And what they did, and I still get emails from them. They must have a very high turnover rate with their sales department. But one of the tactics was, at the time this person contacted me, there was absolutely no art on my website. I had taken it all down. And so they had the audacity to send me an email and said, hey, I went to your website. Really love your artwork there. It's really amazing stuff. Yeah. So what I did is I said, oh, well, which one did you like? Never got a response. Of course, because my art wasn't there. There's no way they could honestly answer that question. Then I got another call I actually got a phone call from someone one time, and they did the same thing. I love your art. Well, which one do you like? Oh, there's nothing out there. And then I got another one. I could tell that this person was unhappy being a salesman for the company, and I was managed to pull it out. I said, "Look, this is what I'm up against. This is what you're up against. You're using a tactic that doesn't settle with people. You can't do that. You're going to turn people off." And I don't know how successful they are. Maybe they are. Maybe they have testimonials and things like that. But they appear to be expensive. I don't know how much. They just told me $2,000 when they called me up the first time. I had to be ready to commit $2,000 or they wouldn't talk to me. So to this day, I don't know what it looks like. You just don't have to do that. So these are some of the things I want to talk about. I also want to talk about how to do what I'm doing right now, how to have good-looking video very simply, not just using the FaceTime camera, but using the DSLR or some other camera to get some nice-looking video. How to do a podcast. I mean, there's plenty of room. Just because I'm doing a podcast doesn't mean you can't do one too. You have your own voice. Just, when you hear me, you hear me. That's my approach. When Eric Rhodes does his podcast, that's his voice. There's nothing wrong with that. There's another one out there called Ask the Artists. That's a good podcast. They have their own voice, their own topics, and things like that. So, there's plenty of room for people, and I can show you how to do that. So, anyway, this test actually turned into a monologue. So I think what I'll do is I'll start wrapping it up now. You can always I may leave this video up. I said at the beginning when I started doing this that I might delete it, but you know what? I'll leave it. You can leave comments, get your thoughts. Just let me know what you think, some of these topics, or is there some other technical topic that you would like to see covered? I'll see what I can find out and present to you. Well, happy painting. We'll see you in the next video.